Welcome back, and today I'm going to be making pate. All right, technically this is going to be a pate de grand-mère, or grandmother's pate. This is a classical French country dish. Now, pate could be made with a lot of other meats. Today we're going to be using pork. So we could be using duck, we could be using venison, we could be using chicken, but today we're going to be using pork. Now, if we wanted to be really fancy, we could do foie gras, which is fatty duck liver. Our budget's not quite there, so this is going to be regular pate. So no foie gras. All right, so to start off with, we're going to have shallots. All right, this is a shallot. It's like an onion, but a little bit milder and a little bit finer. Okay, so we need 3 of these, finely minced up. All right, an ounce of parsley, and about 1.5 pounds of cleaned chicken livers. No green spots, no black spots, no bloody stuff, no vessels, no connective tissue, no fat. Okay, and then we have a little bit of. Today we're using rendered pork fat. Okay, so this is take some fat, heat it up in a pan, kind of render the grease out of it, and just have the grease left over. Okay. And we're going to saute this. All right, so we have a hot pan here. The grease is hot. All right. We're going to start with the shallots. I'm going to put the liver in. And the parsley. Okay. We're gonna let that saute on low. Okay, so while that is sauteing, we're going to mix up our meat. This is pork Boston butt or shoulder, about 2 pounds of it. We're gonna put some curing salt, 1 ounce, in there like that. Some regular salt, 1 ounce. About a teaspoon of sugar. It kind of cuts the astringency of the salt. Pinch of nutmeg. And some black pepper, a couple tablespoons of black pepper. All right, I'm going to mix this all up. Now the basic recipe of this is pretty much standard. You don't have to go exact. All right, so the name of this recipe is pate du grand-mère, or grandmother's pate. The French word for pate means paste. So essentially this is a meat paste. All right. Most everybody in France is going to have some version of pate, whether it's going to be finer or nicer or whatever like that. But this would be like what you would find at a country comfort food sort of thing. This is the pate that your grandmother would have made. So it's not going to be very fine. It's not going to be overly expensive. So we're not using foie gras. Okay. But we are going to do a little bit of something to it to kind of make it a little bit more upscale, okay? So we're gonna let this sit with the salt and the pepper for just a little bit, and we're gonna go back and check on our sauteed livers and shallots. Okay, so we wanna cook this until all the pink stuff out of the liver is cooked all the way out. It's cooked liver. All right, but we're not going to overcook it. We still want this to be nice and tender. So we don't want to overcook it, but we don't want it to be bloody and raw, okay? All right, so this is, we're gonna call that done. All right, so this is gonna go back to that table. Okay, so if you have access to a meat grinder, you could always put this into a meat grinder and grind it up, or we can put it into a food processor. So I'm gonna use a food processor today. We wanna get this into essentially a fine paste, okay? So we're gonna grind this up in our food processor here. We're just gonna put a few handfuls at a time. Maybe about half of it. Okay. Put the lid on, make sure it's locked. All right. That looks fairly decent, okay? See, we don't have a pure paste. We could go all the way to a paste if we wanted to, but again, this would be something that you would find in a grandmother's kitchen. So something with a little bit of texture would be okay. So we're gonna take this and put it into another bowl, and we'll do the rest. Once we have the meat in the food processor, we can put the livers that have been cooked in there as well, and all the juice here. And all this goes in here. Okay. Now, to this, we're going to mix this all up, and we're going to add some pork, some brandy, some breadcrumbs. I'm going to mix this all up. And this part here may be easier just to do with your hands. So the breadcrumbs are going to soak up all that excess moisture. They're going to help to give this a texture. All that fat and all the liver is also going to help to give this a nice, smooth texture. All right. Now the alcohols are optional, but they help to give this a certain flavor and a certain aroma, and help to kind of make it more French, if you will. Okay, so we're going to do one more thing that's going to really help this out, to help give it richness and flavor. Okay, so we're going to make a little room for 5 eggs. And that goes in. And about a cup or so of cream. Heavy whipping cream. And that's going to help the eggs, the cream, and the alcohol all go to help making this pate really rich tasting. We're going to work this so it's all nice and incorporated. We're going to let this sit and rest in the refrigerator overnight. And tomorrow we'll come back. We're going to put it in a pan and we're going to bake it off. And the smells right now are just wonderful. It's making me hungry. All right. Now that everything's all mixed up, we're going to push this down into a compact shape. We're going to put plastic wrap on it and make sure we have all the air out from the plastic wrap. Welcome back. We've been 24 hours later. Our pate has been in the cooler and it's ready. So we're going to line our pan. This is a loaf pan. We can use bacon, we can use caul fat, we can use regular fat, we can use puff pastry. If we did puff pastry, we would call it pate en croûte. But we're going to use bacon today. So we're going to take a piece of bacon. This is just regular bacon. And just layer the inside of our pan with the bacon. And we'll just continue doing this until we're ready. All right, ready to put the pate in. If you feel it, it feels kind of like a very soft meatloaf. I'm just going to kind of put it into the pan. We want to mash it down. Fold all this bacon back up and over. Last piece here, fold over just like so, and like so. Now, very important, we compact this as much as possible. We want to pack it and make it nice and tight. Completely sealed up. We want this pate completely air-free. Okay? So we have a pan here that's larger than our pan of pate. We're going to set that in there like so. We're going to take water. When this cooks, it's going to have a lot of grease, and we want to let that grease come up to the top. So we're going to set this weight on top of it, okay? But after this starts cooking, okay? So right now, we're going to take this and put it in the oven and start baking it, okay? Our internal temperature should be 165, okay? At 165, we'll pour the rest of the grease out. We'll weight it down. We'll chill it on a counter for a little bit. Then we'll put it into the fridge, and we'll see this in a day, 24 hours. Okay, so this pate has been cooking for about 2 hours. So I'm going to check it, the inside of the pate, in the middle of the pate. Looking for 165 to 170. 170 would be great. Okay, we are just a hair over 170, so we're going to be calling that done. Now here's the fun part. You take the pate out. Okay, so very carefully, we're going to pour the grease off. I'm going to weight it down. So I'm going to put my gloves on. All right, that's about all of it. Now, we get a pan the same size and shape as the pate pan. So these are some baker's scale weights. And set some weights down in there. So this weight compresses it down some, but I want to pour water in this pan here. Get it as heavy as I can get it. Just like that. All right. And then we put this in the cooler just like this, at least overnight. 2 days would be fine. All right, welcome back. So it's been a little over 24 hours since we've made the pate. It's out the fridge. We're going to show you how to take it out of this pan, okay? So first we're going to take this top pan off. This is the pan that had our weight and our water in it to press this down. Take that pan out. This is some very hot water. I'm going to pour some very hot water in. And this is kind of like loosen up the sides of the pate. Goes in there like that. And all we really want to do is kind of loosen up the sides. All right. And to help it out, I'm going to take a knife and go right down between my edges here. I think that's pretty much loose right there. And I have this cutting board. I'm going to take this cutting board. I'm going to put it on top of the pate. Like so. And then we're going to try and flip it over. Okay. And here's where we hope this comes out. So there we have our pate is out. Now we don't need to eat this bacon on the bottom, that's not a problem. So what we'll do is do some thin slices like this. That looks good, just like that. All right, so this is our pate. All right, so the pate is beautiful, it's sliced. We have a little Dijon mustard, and we have some fresh baked French bread. You can check out my French bread recipe on YouTube. And we're going to try a little bit. We're going to take a thin slice. This beautiful French bread. A little Dijon mustard. Just like that. And then some pate. Traditional French comfort food, appetizer, or lunch. So good.